sure that is okay. One more thing, then we'll get started. Just trying to organize myself. Okay. Please, have you been able to do that? Copy that link and send to as many people that you think should be here. Don't be selfish. Okay, yeah, let's get started. So, once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. Um, so today, this is going to be our quarterly webinar. We are starting off with this one, and it's something that we'll be doing every quarter. Basically, we'll invite professionals from the field, especially the people that are associated with TCP Cyber Consulting or Academy. We'll be inviting them to come and share their story, come and share knowledge, industry knowledge, lessons learned, implementation projects that they've done on cybersecurity. So this is one of such webinars. And today we'll be discussing about ISO 27001. As most of you will know, ISO 27001 is like a baseline for any company that is very serious with cybersecurity. So it's a baseline. It's often called information system management system. So it is like a background, like something basic that you should have in place when you are considering, tightening up, or reinforcing your cybersecurity program. So, and apart from that, if you are an organization that wants to do business with maybe some big companies, multinationals, is one of those certificates that will be required of you. One of those certifications that will be required of you because it gives the third party some kind of confirm the expectation that your company is able to manage your IT infrastructure, your data management, your information system management properly, so that if they give you some kind of data, they will be very assured that yes, you are not going to compromise, their data. That their data is not going to get leaked outside. So it's like an assurance form of certification for every company. So it's been a while. It's been around for a while in the industry actually. Um, so it's always recommended. It's like a baseline. Not really a cybersecurity framework, but it is a baseline. It's where to get started from. If you are very serious about your cybersecurity journey. So that's what we'll be discussing today. Again, my name is Abiodun Odewale. I'm the director here at TCP Cyber Consulting. We do cybersecurity consulting, we do training. We have a TCP Cyber Academy where we do training. And actually, one of the main presenter for today is one of our alumni, and we are very happy and um, very happy and pumped up to have her do this presentation to us today. Uh, basically. So it's going to be a quarterly meeting. This is just the first of such, and the next one will be in June. You know, we will be discussing another topic entirely. Okay, so that's what we are up for today, and without further ado, we just go into it. presenter is here, and I'm just gonna introduce her briefly. So our presenter, like I said, is a friend of the community. She's a friend of the community, and one of the great alumni of this academy. Uh, She's a governance, risk, and compliance analyst, and she's known for her strategic thinking and commitment to strengthening organization security and compliance. With several years of experience driving ISO 27001, SOC 2, NIST, and GDPR initiative, she has led internal she has led internal and external and advanced third-party risk management and data protection program. She's known for her passion for creating cybersecurity awareness, hands-on leadership, and ability to turn complex risk into clear and actionable solutions. As a matter of fact, if you go to our LinkedIn, I'm sure if you want to stay abreast of what is happening within the field of cybersecurity, just go to our LinkedIn, and I can assure you that you will not miss anything that is going on around the world. When it comes to cybersecurity, if you need constant reminder about cybersecurity awareness, our page is one of the go-to, that you should always visit. And beyond her technical expertise, she's a devoted advocate for women in STEM and leadership, a proud mother of three girls. She volunteers as a soul sister with a girls' foundation, mentoring young women to build confidence and purpose. She also speaks at women's conferences and cybersecurity boot camps, inspiring others to grow in both career and character, guided by her belief in blooming where you are planted. Um, our guest today, our main presenter for today, she is Dayo Daibo. And she empowers others to rise. She leads and make a meaningful impact. We are very happy to receive her. So, Adedayo Daibo, welcome to this webinar, and we are very proud to have you. And we know that so it's gonna walk us through um, basic ISO 27001. This is not a webinar to teach what ISO 27001 certification is. I'm sure many of us are familiar, but she's bringing her field experience into being to come and share lessons learned. She recently led a certification for our company. So she wants to just share some of the lessons learned and the process she went through, the main reason why the company went for it, and just how it is done practically. So Adedayo, you are welcome, and you have the floor. Let me make a
Thank
quote.
you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, perfectly.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's a very big privilege to be here. I'm so happy to be here. Like Coach said, um, this is my community. This is where I call home. So anytime I can give back, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the privilege. And I know we have a lot of experts in the house. So disclaimer, it's not like I'm a professor in this, but it's just the passion to want to share and also learn from everyone. So that's what's happening. Yeah. So will I be able to share my screen now? Let me try. Okay, I just sent a request. Should be you're muted, sir.
Yeah, you should be able to go ahead and share now.
Think so. Okay. So please you let me know when you do see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen perfectly, and you
Mm,
are also audible.
Very good. Just going to So are you seeing the first slide, the from implementation to certification?
Yes.
See if I can put it, make it bigger. I don't know if it's big enough. That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, for me, it's big enough. Unless you want to, if you want to make the PowerPoint to be in RAW mode, but uh, I feel, yeah. Somebody also confirmed that it's big enough. Yeah, so you can just
Okay, so
slide.
we can leave it this way then. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can start. So just like Coach said, this is just more like giving a practical experience of what ISO 27001 will look like if you're trying to get it for your company. So I definitely am not in a position to really say I can teach to get someone certified in it. And so even after this, if you're interested in like knowing more and getting the certifications, there are a lot of training bodies, which was something I did some years ago as well, getting the lead the certification to be a lead implementer and a lead auditor in ISO 27001. So that would really be the rich course that you have to do, and you have an exam afterwards. So this one is just more like giving a practical framework, just tips and something that you can always ask me question on practical things, and we can discuss afterwards. So yeah, the topic is from implementation to certification. I'm going to start first by saying what the objective of this presentation is. I'll be introducing the ISO 27001 standard and its importance. I would also explain the structure, just give a bit of the structure. I would make you understand how the risk management process is for ISO 27001, because that's a very big part of ISO 27001. And then we'll review the PDCA life cycle. And this is more like the model of which ISO 27001, that's the ISMS implementation, is all about. The PDCA is the plan, do, check, and act model. We're going to get there. That's really, really very important to understand. And then we'll understand how the certification itself goes. It's being done. Like if an organization is interested, how do you reach out? How do you start the process? And what are the requirements? So that will be the objective of this presentation. Okay. And to start off, and I'm sure we are all security professionals in here, we understand why this is all done. Like this is the core security principle. Why would people bother even knowing about standards, about frameworks? It's all because this is the core thing. We want to be on the CIA trial. Like this is the core principle. We want to make sure our information stays confidential. You are giving it to the right people. You want to make sure that your information is not being changed, and you want to make sure it's available. And this is really the backbone of every standards or framework out there. So this is just like a core thing that we all have to understand. And that is also the same thing with ISO 27001. That's what the standard is also based on. And okay, so talking about an overview, like we said, is an international standard for information security management systems. And I'm sure a lot of us must have heard of ISO. So ISO has a lot of different other ones. I think there's 9001, there's 14001. Depending on the field you are, you must have heard of a lot of ISOs out there. It's a standard. And so for just information security is why 27001 is very popular. But there are so many other ISO standards. In case you're thinking, ISO is just no. ISO is like a standard that has a lot of other ones. Yeah, and the whole idea of this particular one is to ensure the protection of information assets. Like I said, it focuses on the CIA, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and it aligns information security with business objectives. I'll be speaking more on that because at the end of the day, every organization is there for a business. They want to make money, they want to make profit. But then this whole thing we're doing in cybersecurity, information security, has to be a support to them. And that's where the real issue comes in, where sometimes you don't get budget, where sometimes you don't get the backing you want. Because if you don't align it, and so a lot of the executives will not be interested in talking about it. And then most executives are not really into technical things. They are not into information security. And so when you're talking, they're wondering what you're saying. All they want to hear is dollars. So if we can always align everything that we're doing, doing to show them how it will bring profit, then they want to hear you and they want to know more about it. And that's what I've noticed over the years, and I'm sure most of us can attest to that. Okay, going to the next slides. Why organizations pursue ISO 27001. I want to say something before let me go back here. So you would see that this is the 2022 one. They always have different version of it. I think the last one was 2013. So some organizations may have been, add their ISOs based on 2013, but every 10 years they do change it. So they had another one 2022. And so now this will run till about 2031, 32, thereabout, they would probably still change it again. And so one thing that catches my attention, and this is me as much as possible, I may not follow my slide, we're just talking between, is the fact that you will notice that this particular one doesn't make any mention of AI or a lot of things that has changed over the years, right? And so they have another ISO. I think that's the 42001 that is for AI. But I'm assuming the next one would have for this might be having a bit of AI. That's just my thoughts, like because there are years in between and things change. Just thought to mention that too. Okay, so why organizations pursue ISO 27001? The first thing is the customer trust. So I'm privileged to be in a position where I'm working on the trust for my company. And so while we're doing our compliance and everything, I'm also working on their trust center. So if you go to a lot of organizations now, if you click towards the very end, some of them that have the funds, they have trust center. If you click on their trust center, you would see that that is where they would be showing off all the compliance, what they are doing. You can just go to any website, maybe like I know AWS has, Microsoft has, all those big companies, they all have a trust center. You would see a lot of things there. This is the reason why they are going for standards, because they want to show it off there. They want their customer to know that they can trust them with their information. So it's very important. Regulatory alignment. This is also a big deal in some particular industries. Like they have to follow this, to align and to be able to like perform their operations. Another one is the structured security governance. I tell you, there's no way you do an ISO, you don't have a governance. Like, there's no way you'll be able to even get it done if you don't have a good governance in your organization. So yes, ISO will be one of the reasons why you would have a good security governance. So that's why some companies would go for it. Another thing is the market differentiation. So I get to review contracts a lot for my organization, and this makes a whole lot of difference. It's becoming one of the reasons why you may not get a bid for some contracts. So it's really becoming a competitive advantage having ISO 27001. So it differentiates you in the market, and that's one of the reasons why organizations would go for it. Okay. So talking about the roadmap for ISO 27001, this is pretty like a very straight roadmap. This would kind of be the guidance of what I'll be talking about all through when you talk of the implementation. I would say the first thing is define your scope, and I would still bring it all back to the standard itself and how it's laid, the way it's itemized. But if you're talking of like just having a very brief summary of how it is, this is something that you would say first define your scope. So one thing about ISO 27001 is, as much as it's a standard that every company can go through, the scope will vary for every organization. So company A and company B can be in the same location here in Calgary, and they are going for ISO 27001. And even sometimes they may be doing the same business, but their scope will be different. The scope in terms of the number of people they have, the scope in terms of maybe the departments they want to scope. So maybe you have a department that maybe like sales, a company may decide I'm not scoping that in, and that company may decide to scope it in, and that company may decide to scope in their legal team, their finance. Like there are some core departments everyone will scope in for sure. Departments like HR or the IT, things like that. But yes, areas where people can differ, and that's why you have to define your scope. ISO 27001, it's very customizable, if I can use that word. You customize it to your own organization. So you need to define how much you want to give, or how much you want to, how much area you want to have controls in, so you can really define it. And the second thing will be to build your governance. Like I said, ISO 27001 is one of those standards where if you don't have a top management support, if you don't have a support whatsoever from the top down, you cannot get it done. So it's almost like organizations can wish to have it, they can decide to have it, but if from the top down, and I mean from the very top, from the CEOs to every executives, if they are not going to support it, it's not something that would work at all because you need a governance, you need to have a structure. People need to understand those at the top need this for a reason. That's why they would then go out of their way to give you some things or even work on some initiatives or some programs you want them to do. And then the next one is your risk assessment. You cannot have an ISO standard without having done your risk assessment. That's like a major part of ISO 27001. You need to do your risk assessment. You need to, and we're going to go into all this in depth towards the end as well. The next one is the control implementation, and this is a very big part of it. And I know most of us that are familiar with ISO, we know the controls that are there. You have to also implement that. The next one is documentation. And this is where the bulk of some of the work that we have is. And luckily for some of us, I got lucky. My organization is using an automated tool for our compliance. It made my life a bit easy. But, like I also still use spreadsheets sometimes, but I know some companies use Excel and spreadsheet and SharePoint. You need to have a lot of documentation, and that can be a lot of work at times. But yes, it's a big deal because that's where your evidence will be. That's where your audit trail will be. That's what the auditors will be checking, right? And then the next one will be the internal audits. And this is very important in ISO because ISO 27001 is giving you room to first do your own audits. Like first check yourself in-house. Do it yourself. Check, are you ready? Before you then call the external ones to come in and then do the audits for you. So I really like that about ISO, the fact that they are asking you, can you check? Can you do? And maybe you look inward and find your gaps, find your areas you know you need to work on and start doing something about it before you bring someone else to start pointing those areas to you. And then afterwards, you can then go outside the external auditor and get your certification. Okay. So the next one, yeah, I said I was going to talk about this. This is the PDCA model. So this is really the life cycle of ISO 27001. It's a certification that normally when you go for, you'd always sign the contract with whoever is coming in. It's always for 3 years. They never do 1 year. It's always 3 years. So they start the first one and then they come back again for the surveillance audit and they come back again the third year. And so that's why they call it a life cycle because it keeps going round and round. And it starts from the planning. Like the first thing they want you to do is to plan. You establish your ISMS policies, your objectives, your process, everything. And then you start doing those things. Like it's not just, you just don't have them on paper and write it and it's polished. You really start doing it. And then, like I said, you start checking. That's where you come in yourself, you check, you monitor, is it doing? And then finally you start acting. So definitely when you're checking, you're looking at things, you would see areas where you know, okay, we're not doing so well. You need to start correcting it. And then you see areas where you're doing very well, but you can still get better. You start improving. So I really like ISO 27001 because of this. I don't know about other people, but me personally, I like things that give you room to keep growing, things that give you room to also have places that you are working on. So you're not perfect. Like it's one of those standards that is not saying your organization needs to be perfect. It's just saying, can your organization know where they need to start working on and start getting better at it? And that's very good. So that's one of the reasons why I've enjoyed working with ISO 27001 as a whole, I have to tell you. So the next one, so for those of us that know about these standards, we know there are different controls and in it, but there are also mandatory clauses that it has. And this is the area where, I already talked about the fact that, ISO 27001 can be customizable. You can have it different based on your organization. But then at the end of the day, there are areas where we would all be similar. And this is where it comes in, the mandatory areas, the areas where we must all have the same thing. And then the other areas are where we can play around with. And then even though we're having the same thing, the content might look different, but we must all follow these clauses in ISO 27001. And those are these clauses here. I don't want to really take too much of our time going into it. I'm assuming a lot of us know it, but if I don't know if maybe later once we can share the slide, I don't mind. well, you can all go into the clause because I would be talking about each of them too as we go down. The first one definitely is the context of the organization. And like I said before, that's where the defining of the scope is, knowing who your stakeholders is. So when they talk about the stakeholders, and I think I will still go down and talk about that, but I can give a hint of what I mean. Depending on the industry we have, different people will be our stakeholders. And stakeholders that they're always the internal ones and the external ones. What will bother me internally might not bother another company internally. What I will be worried about externally might not be what your company will be worried about externally. But at the end of the day, if we're both pursuing ISO 27001, we have to define it and we have to decide who our internal stakeholders are and who our external stakeholders are. What are the boundaries? What are the things that it's peculiar to our own organization? And those are the areas where our content will then differ, but then we have to satisfy that clause when we're doing ISO 27001. The next one is the leadership. That's where we've been talking about the governance all along. You really cannot, apart from the fact that they would approve the budget, right? They cannot just approve the budget and go sit down. ISO 27001 needs them to be involved. It needs to show. So there will be times where you would have management review meetings. There will be times where you would have risks and they want to see that you actually took it up to the people at the top and they gave you an opinion. There will be documentations where you will show that those at the very top actually told you what their security objectives are. Like what did they say they want to do for the year as a company. So those are areas where you need your leadership to be very involved, right? And that's the clause 5. And then the next one is the planning. That's where the risks comes in. Like you need to finally then look inward. What are our risks? How do we want to treat it? I'm going to show some slides about this later, so I don't want to take too much time here. The next one is the support. You can't do it alone. You will need so many support from every angle. You'll be reaching out to so many departments. They will probably get tired of seeing you. You call them for meetings over and over again because you want them to be building evidence for you. You want them to be doing things. And sometimes they will not understand why you're asking for so much, but you're the one that will be facing the auditor and you have to be showing things. So you need them to start getting those things. And you need them to also know what they are supposed to do. So there will be the communication where you tell people what they are supposed to do, how they are supposed to react when things happen. And then the next one, which is operation. So it's not just having the risk things like some organizations can have all the risk register and everything, but they're not really reviewing it. They could write the same risk treatment from beginning of the year to the end of the year. It's still the same risk treatment. Nothing is happening. You're actually supposed to start operating and implementing most of those things. And that's the area where when you start doing it, you then fall into the second clause, which is you monitor. Is it working? Or maybe what we said will be our mitigation in January. We realized that in September, it's not working. We might need to start changing that. And so in-house for me, this is where you have your risk review with stakeholders. You keep talking to them, so much meetings, so much checking and monitoring, just all because you want to satisfy these clauses. And then the next one is improvement. Like I said, ISO allows you to improve. ISO understands you can have gaps, you can have areas where you would not conform. So they would come in, they would check, and they'll be like, okay, in some areas, oh no, we are not. We give you some days to work on it. Or some areas, okay, what you've seen, okay, you have a gap. Can you start working on it? What would you do about it? You tell them, oh, okay, when you come next year, we're sure we're going to start some things. And then when they come, they would also want to check, oh, what have you done? Did you discuss it? Are you working on it? That's the area where the improvement then comes in. And that's a very good thing for any organization, right? And okay, so talking about the controls, like I said, it's so much controls. I'm not going to dwell too much on this because I'm assuming most of us are familiar with ISO and maybe already know most of these controls. But like it's grouped in domains: the organizational controls, the people controls, the physical controls, the technological controls. I think there are about 93 of them, if I'm correct. Yeah, but yeah, that's the breakdown. About 93 of all of them in total. Now, this is the area where your customization also come to play. And that's what the next slide will show, because now 93 of it, not every organization would go through all the controls because this is now the area where you can decide the controls you're picking. Though I know some controls will be similar. So I don't think there's any way you would do ISO and remove people controls when we all know that the people is the most important, right? So there are some things that would stay the same for almost all organization, but then this is the area where you also still customize it a bit and make it work for you. And that's where the second slides come in, which is the SOA. I'm sure most of us have heard of this, the statement of applicability, where you pick the controls that matters to you, to your organization, and then talk about how you want to implement it. So this is like a sample of one of the controls, which is policies for information security. You describe it, and this is one major document that every auditor would check. What's your SOA? Like, what have you decided you want to, the controls you've decided are applicable to you, and how do you want to go about it? And so this is an example of one of the controls, the policy for information security. We described it, and then you justify, are you including it or are you excluding it? And that's where I say ISO is so it's so easy and makes you, gives you room to like explain things, gives you room to say why you're doing something, why you're not. It's one of the very flexible, if you ask me. So you're justifying why are we including it? And some controls, if you want to take it out, why do you want to take it out? So let me give an example of like why you want to take out a control. So there's a control that has to do with maybe development, software development. If you're an organization that is not having your own in-house development, you probably will be taking that out. And then you justify that we don't do in-house software development, but then maybe you are outsourcing that part. Then you will take the control that has to do with when you are outsourcing your software development. But then if you're a company that does development in-house, you cannot take that out. So you understand those are the areas where you play around with the controls and you show it and you explain how you're going to implement it to your auditor and all that. So yeah, so this is just an example. Another example of it is information security rules and responsibilities. You show why you're justifying. Let me go back here. There's something I want to explain. So we have different things here, legends here that talks about if the control is related, maybe due to regulatory requirements. Do you need it because of legal requirements? Do you need it for contractual obligations? Or do you need it for a business treatment, like, business requirements? Those are like questions that the auditors want to understand as well. And then they check over time. But this particular document is very important for every organization, showing why you're picking the controls you are picking in the 093, and you can decide to do everything. So it depends. You just have to show it and explain, especially in the first year that you will have the audit. It will be a very robust one where most of your controls will be looked at all through. But then when it comes to the surveillance one and the other ones, they can just decide, okay, this surveillance stuff, we're just going to check like maybe 20 of 10 of your controls, just a random pick of the controls and see if what you're doing. So it will not be as detailed as the very first one you do when you get the ISO certification. The other ones, the subsequent years, the controls, the auditors will not check all the controls. That's kind of like the difference. And then they will just check some sample and then see if you're really improving on it, or maybe if you have anything that is out of place. That's the whole idea of coming back to check. And that's why it's 3 years as a certification. Yeah. Okay, so the context of the organization, I think I made mention of this already. This is very important, like define it, identify your stakeholders, analyze and align to the objectives of the business environment. This is what will make your ISO fly. If it's not aligning to your business environment, or if your organization does not see the need for it. So a lot of people pursue ISO because maybe they need a contract and the company will be like, we need ISO. And so there's that alignment already automatically. And so they will do everything that you are asking. And it's good sometimes. And sometimes it's better to just start doing it before you even need it. And so align it and let them see why they need this, align it to what they are doing. Like, oh, if you have this is how it will help your revenue and all that. That's the area where this will be pretty important. And then I talked about building governance. So let me just give some practical examples here for building governance. So one of the very first thing is having your security steering committee. So for sure, I'm not expecting you to have meetings or have your CEO come regularly to your meetings or something like that. It's almost impossible, right? But then you can build a governance where you have your steering committee, you can even have operations committee, you can do it bit by bit where at the very top of it, you at least get one executive sponsor, somebody that will be there that you know that they have a direct link to the very, very top people. So get a committee because without that, it will be so hard for you to pass some things to the very top, right? So try within your environment, find how to get someone that would champion it, someone that will sponsor it. It could be apart from the CISO, most times somebody a bit higher than the CISO would be one that will be at the very top, and then you can have the CISO and other ones too, like in the middle, and then you need to come down. So it's like a cadre of different committee that you can have, so that at the end of the day, when you want some things done, it goes to the top and then it comes down for the things to get done because you really would need that support and top management. You need it a lot. I kind of emphasize it. You do need it. And then the next one is policy ownership. So in our job, at least for mine, I have to do a lot of policy drafting, a lot of policy based on what the policy is all about, who the stakeholder is, and then you have to own it. You own your policy. You make sure you have talks with everyone that you're doing the policy for. So another thing about policy, you don't just want to write it and it's not visible to what your people can actually do or acknowledge to. So policy is one major thing. And like I said, executive sponsorship. So you could have a lot of people join this committee and all, but you need somebody that would really champion it. Like it might just even be one person, but you need somebody that would really champion it, somebody that would help you with budgets, that would understand when you say, oh, we need a pen test, someone that will fight to get the money out, or we need to keep vulnerability management, but we need to get maybe a Tenable tool or something to somebody that will be, pushing for that for you. It's something that you would definitely be needing. Okay, just one more thing. And then the next one is to promote, just a moment. I think it's charging. Yeah, my laptop. Yeah, the next one is to promote a strong security culture across the organization. Now, this is very important. One thing about security is you can have everything, you can be doing everything right, but if you don't have a good security culture in your organization, it really would tell, like it would tell, because by the time you are trying to have meetings with them, trying to do things, they would struggle to like understand why. Even when you have to do trainings, some of them may not even decide to do the training, and probably you know the reason why you have to have the training done. So you need to promote a strong security culture. You need to let people understand why they need to do the training. You need to keep putting awareness out there in your organization. And that's because from there, even though I'm saying you need from the very top, sometimes you also need people down to also be the ones pushing for things. So you need the HR person to also understand why everybody should do their training in a department, or even the finance person. They are so busy, but you want them to do training. And maybe sometimes you have some privileged trainings you want them to do. They need to understand why they need to do it. You understand? Or sometimes you want to meet them for risk review. They don't understand all of these technical jargons, but you want them to come for the meeting. So you need to let them also get into the security culture to be able to get most of these things done. Okay. And I'm just going to take a minute here to see my charger. Just a minute. Just gonna. Can you hear me, Sam? I want to walk on I don't want my laptop to just go off. Hello?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I think my connection is not so good. I'm thinking my battery might go off anytime soon.
No,
Just
we can hear you so perfectly, but yeah, it looks like your
my battery, yeah,
battery, yeah.
just a minute. Just a minute. Let me fix it.
Yeah,
Just
no
a minute.
problem.
I don't want it to go off. Yeah, I'll be right
Just
back.
just go ahead and fix it. Okay, so how are you guys doing? Hope we are learning one or two things. Yeah, you can see theory is different from practical. One thing I've learned from everything she's saying is the importance of having management buying. Like I always said, if you don't have management buying or sponsorship, I mean, anything you are doing in terms of cybersecurity program is not really going to have an effect. Okay, are you back?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
no problem.
My
Just
charger thing tripped.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So the next, thank you, sir. Yeah, the next one is the risk assessments. And I just thought to put together risk assessments that pass audits. So there's a particular way the auditors kind of come in and they want to see how you assess your risk. The foundation is always to identify it. They want to see if you actually identify all the information security risks. And this is because sometimes when you have your risk register, if you don't make it very robust enough, maybe because you want to just try and make it minimal, you don't want to go into much, they are trained, they can tell like easily maybe some risk that they expect that you should have identified. And even though you could identify the risks and maybe you are on top of it, but at least they want to see you identify it, like you actually know it was a risk and you have it documented. The next one is you're analyzing your risk likelihood and impact. And that's where even though you're identifying a risk, by the time you analyze it, you get something else. You see, okay, is it even really going to happen to us? Is there the possibility of it? Can it even impact us? So depending on your organization, some things that would impact some other organizations so bad might not be a big deal for another organization. So it's dependent, on where you are. And this is also like what we talk about when we talk of even the whole triad and what's important, maybe integrity, availability. It depends on the organization or the environment sometimes. So the next one is you evaluate it, you prioritize it. Now, this is very important. So you would have, we can never have a zero risk. I think we all understand that there would always be risk. It's not possible. Even life itself, right? It's risky. So, but then you prioritize it. What are the critical, like which ones would we really bother about so much that we don't want to even take our eyes off? Which one would we say is high that we'll come back to? Which one would we say is medium that we are okay with, and then low and all that? And this is where we then tie back to what I've been talking about, our governance, our management, where the company has to decide what is our risk appetite, what is the risk that we are ready to take. Because like I said, we can't get to zero, but if an organization has decided, okay, when a risk is medium, we're good. Like we can just keep maintaining it, we're good. Maybe another organization wants to take a high risk, possibly, maybe some startups and all, but a lot of organizations normally like medium, they stay there and they're like, okay, that's our risk appetite. Maybe because they have the insurance, they have other things, and like if you can get it medium, you just maintain it there, we're good. And so when you identify a risk that is very critical, what are you trying to do to make it come down to medium would then be your whole risk management, you understand? And then the next one is the treating of the risk. There are different ways we can treat risks. I'm sure we all know that. But on your risk assessment, the document the auditor wants to see, they want to see what you decided to do. Are you mitigating it? Are you transferring it? Are you avoiding it? Are you accepting? Whatever it is, you need to document it very well for the auditor to understand. And then how are you monitoring this risk? How are you reviewing it? Like I said, on my own hand, I kind of do like a quarterly risk review. And then it depends on what works in your company because we have to keep monitoring it. I can assume because we said you're going to do something for me in January to do a risk. I wouldn't assume that till the end of December, that is it. At least for my own organization, I still would come back and review. Oh, is it still like that? Do you need more budget or more time or what's happening exactly? You keep monitoring because the auditor is also going to come and see what you've been doing. Like, how have you been monitoring? What have you been, what else has come up? How did you guys treat it? Those are things they would also watch out for. And so, okay, I have here a sample risk matrix. I know this is like a community of professionals, but then I was like, okay, what if we have people that are just coming in as well? That's why I kind of like, okay, let's get this to, if, in case you're wondering what a risk matrix is, the likelihood of occurrence, the likelihood of impact. So, and this will vary depending on the risk when you identify it. How likely is it to happen? What would be the impact? These are all the things that would then make you classify the risks and then prioritize it or leave it where it is. If you're an organization that has said medium, probably everything around here, you're good. But once it goes higher than there, oh, we need to quickly jump on it, would then be your decision, right? And so that determines it. The next one is the documentation and the control challenges. Like I said, there will be so much documentation. Most of us are lucky now where there are so many compliance tools using AI and all that, and it's making our life easier. But if you ask maybe people years back in this profession, there was so much documentation, so much paperwork, because you have to keep evidence, you have to keep your trails for auditors to come check. So auditing is all about we're coming, we want to check what you've been doing. It's not like today, okay, you have an audit in March, and then it's only what you did in March that they're coming to see. No, they want to see what's been happening, especially when you even start the 3 years on, like they're looking at it over time, like what have you been doing, the dates, everything is important. They're checking the time. Oh, this happened, what date? Oh, you did it this date. Those are the things that show that this is actually happening. So policy management as well, they are into that. So when you get a policy this year, you have it sent out, everybody acknowledge you own it. The policy of 2021, when the auditor comes, it should not still be showing 2021. You should be showing that every year you are actually reviewing it, you're going back, and it's a new version. It's a new version. So you would have a trail of each of your policy changing, right? Those are things they would check. Your evidence, different areas of the controls, like we said, what are the evidence you have to show? So one of the controls is background screening, right? You should have your evidence of, oh, this person entered the company last year, November. This was the background screening we did. This was this. You would have dates. And so that's where the dates will come in. So you cannot be saying someone came in last year, September, and then you are just doing the screening March. There's some things that would then not make sense, right? Because you're supposed to have those dates and evidence. And then mapping your control to ISO clauses, like I said, where the SOA comes in, where showing what you're doing for each of the clause, you have to also do that. And then maintaining continuous compliance, you also need documentation to show that you are doing that. An example of that would be like your trainings, your security training you're giving your employees. You should have documentation of them doing the training, confirming that they did the training, having everybody, those are things that auditors want to check. And then avoid documentation overload. So this one is just one major tip that you don't want to. So as much as possible, don't give unnecessarily too much, because it could lead to more and more things, right? Like what they ask for is actually produce and get it and justify it and move on. Don't do too much that then leads to too many unnecessary questions, because you've put too much that may not even be important. You get that's one tip that I've also learned over time. Another one is the performance and compliance monitoring. Like I said, ISO needs you to keep monitoring, keep checking how well am I doing. So you measure your ISMS effectiveness, your KPIs, your KRI, KPIs, key performance indicators, your key risks indicators, your key control indicators. You keep checking them. You monitor your compliance with your security policies and regulations. Are people really going through them? Are they following it? You track your performance and security improvements. And this is where, again, so it goes to the next one, enable informed management decisions. So this is where it goes back to where you've tracked it. So I'm assuming when you have your steering committee and you have those top managers, what they want to hear is, okay, we approved this budget this year for you to do this. How did it help us? You're going back the following year to tell them, oh, this is how it helped. It helps them to also, then when you then go like, oh, so now we had a gap this year and we need more things. I don't know if you're getting the picture. It kind of now makes it easy for them to also want to give you some more, or maybe decide, oh, would get maybe more people in this department to do things. It makes a lot of informed management decision when you keep track of this. And then the last one, which I talk about, is the continuous improvement. This is very important. You have to do your regular internal audits to identify weakness. So your internal audits, and that's one of the things I also do in my company, like you do internal audits, and sometimes you can have people do internal audits for you in other areas. And somebody is supposed to also audit myself too, right? So you have internal audits where they check things that you're doing, your documentation, and then you yourself can even decide, this is our gap. This is the area where we need to work on. And when they come for the audits, they ask you for your internal audits. They want to see what you found out, what you've done, and then link it with what they see and all that you have. Is just to know that, have you even checked inward first before we came ourselves to also check? You have to have planned management reviews. This is where you, like I said, you need those managers, you need those executives, because they would check. So when they come for the audits, they needed to have had like an initial one where you first, got the managers, you told them everything. They want another one, like a final one where okay, what are the things that you said there? Did anything happen? What did they finally say? They would ask for these documents of you actually having those meetings with your management. So this is a very big one in ISO. The next one is your security incidents. Like, and I think it was through coach I learned the thing about incidents. I don't know if it's through coach or one of the seminars I used to go for where they're like incidents, people think it has to be something bad or something. Incidents when something has happened, an event has happened, like somebody went, logged into their stuff, it has happened. Like, so it depends on how you now look at it. So you can't say you didn't have an incident in a long time. That means you're not tracking something. There has to be record and documentation that should, oh, this happened one time, but we did get on it, or we learned that the next time we want to do it is like this. They want to see things like that. The next one is the controls and policies updated to address emerging risks. That's what I'm talking about, where they will check your policies. So your policies should not still be having 2023. It means nobody's looking at it. It means the version is not changing. And why the version has to keep changing is because things are changing. Like I said, so as at like 2 years ago in my organization, we didn't have anything about an AI policy, but we had to draft one last year. Like I had to get AI policy and all those things out last year because things have changed. So things are really changing. And then maybe even your access control, maybe there's something that has changed or you want people to do something. The moment you change it, the version change. And sometimes maybe nothing changed, but at least the fact that you went and you put the new year that you've gone to review the policy, even though nothing changed, shows that somebody actually went back to check the policy, not that you're having policy of 2020, 2019, and nothing has happened in between. They check that a lot too. The next one is to drive ongoing improvement of the security program, like show things that you're doing in-house to help your security program. Are you having awareness? Are you doing maybe like a seminar? Whatever it is that you're doing to show your security program are things that they would also like to see. And then yeah, okay. So I think this one was just an example I had here to show for some controls, like some key controls. When we talk of like access control, maybe they would want to see documentation of your user lifecycle management. So like, oh, someone left, someone came back. Let's see, did you disconnect them immediately? Where's the ticket that the HR sent to the IT that, oh, Mr. A is leaving on the 20th of March? Where does it show that IT took it up immediately and cut off that credentials? And so Mr. A, 21st of March can no more use his credentials. Like they check all that. Your MFA, do you have your MFA set up for all your employees when they go into their accounts? You show documentation, privilege access monitoring. Do you have anything that you can use to detect that, okay, this person has more privilege to control it? Those are things that the auditor would want to check. For your incident response, they check your detection. What do you have? What EDRs? What things do you have that tells you when something happens? Do you have a response plan? What documentation do you have? Do you guys do tabletop exercise? Do you have a communication of who they would reach out to if there's an escalation? Do you have your lessons learned documented? They check those documents. For suppliers, sometimes they will check your vendor risk assessments. What did you do? So maybe you just got a new tool or you just employed a new vendor. What was the reason? Why did you pick that vendor? What were the things you checked? What were the due diligence that was done in your clause? Did you put anything about cybersecurity? Did you say maybe if something happened, the vendor should get back? Are you checking? Do you have anything you're sending to the vendor to answer some questions? Those are just examples. I'm just giving a brief examples of some of the things that you'll be showing. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm almost towards the end. It's been a lot of talking. So, and the last one, just to give a clear picture of how it would be, like the first one is for you to decide you want to go for an ISO 27001 in-house first. And like I said, you need to do your internal audit. So first, you want to identify all your gaps as an organization. Where are the areas where, if you're the person in-house that wants to do this, you get the ISO standards and you're like, okay, let's do an internal audit. Let's see where we really need to work on our gaps and all. You first identify it, and it's just good so that maybe you can even start working on some of them before you then reach out to an auditing body to start the process for you. And then when you reach out to them, they always have stages that they go through, 2 stages for the audit. The first one is they review your documentation, they check how ready you are. So sometimes they can come to this part, the step one, and be the one to tell you that you're nowhere there. Like you're not ready, and they don't see the visibility of you even being able to get ready for the stage two. And on some, so that's another very good honest part about it. They can tell based on what they see when they come around in the very first stage, right? And then the second stage, if you're good to go, they give you some days, to get ready for the second stage, which will be the detailed one where they actually come. We have some that are doing remote nowadays, and but the first one, most of the time, they want to come see and check things, and that one normally takes some few days, a longer time, right? This stage two, and then afterwards, sometimes you might have non-conformities, like areas where they would notice that, oh, you're not ready. They will give you some days to fix it, or you might not have, depending on how the audit goes. And then you have your certification if you pass. Most of the time people pass and then you get your certification. And then, like I said, it's always a 3 years audit. So once you sign with an auditor, they would already tell you like it's 3 years. So the following year they come for the surveillance audits. They do the same thing all over again, but this time around, not too detailed, they don't stay that long. And then again, you go again. And then when it's 3 years up again, you start all over again. So it's a 3 years cycle kind of certification. So I said, yeah, what auditors look for? Evidence must be traceable and consistent. They must be able to trace it, and it must be consistent. Like it must show that something is happening, it's linking to something. And honestly, this is the very hard part. And even every time I talk with my people, this is why I keep telling them they're going to check. So please document things. Please do things the right way. You want to give somebody control, don't just call them and be like, please connect that person. No, raise the ticket, do these things that you're supposed to do. Let's have this documentation. And so you find yourself having to talk to a lot of people because you know that's what they will be coming to check. You do your internal audits. It helps you to identify your gaps. You quickly know where you need to work on before the auditors come in. Auditors focus on effectiveness, not just documentation. And that's why I'm talking about the fact that as much as they want to check a lot of paperwork, they also want to see that these things you're doing are actually working and they apply to you. So sometimes they may even see some control and be like, oh, are you really, does this matter? Does this? And I've noticed over time, auditors are also becoming very collaborative. Like I've been lucky with the ones I've gotten. They've been very collaborative where they actually even telling you things that they feel like you should be doing, and you live there learning so much. And I don't know if we have any auditor in the house, but that's one thing that they're also aiming for, to really, really collaborate. It's not like they're coming out of wind or something. A lot of them now would also even be guiding you and telling you, oh, you should do it this way, because the whole idea is it's supposed to work for you, not just you writing a lot of things that are not even happening or that is not working. So the cross-team collaboration is important. This is very important. You have to collaborate with people, my IT team, my developers, everybody, like literally everybody. You collaborate, you have meetings, you let people tell you, you make them understand why you need things. Risk linkage to security objectives. This was a very big one, even the first time I ever had to do audit, where you need to understand that you've decided what your security objectives is as a company. Those will also help you to link what are then the risks to these objectives, right? This is what I want to do. What are some of the risks? That gives you a good overview of how you get your risks out. And so the auditor is also looking at it that, okay, based on your objectives, what are some of the risks you saw? Let's go to it. Okay, what are the things you say you would do? So it's like that sync of, flowing from one thing to the other, showing that you also did your own homework of really looking at what your objectives is and what will be the risks while your organization will not be able to achieve those objectives. And lastly, management involvement. Your auditor is definitely going to check your initial management review documents, your final management. Like they want to see that people actually sat down and listened to you and decided what they wanted to do. And that's where we said ISO cannot go. You cannot get an ISO 27001 if you don't have your top management. If people are not, those are the tops, are not going to support you. It's going to be very difficult. The next one is the common implementation pitfalls. Major thing that people have issues with is paper compliance. So you can have everything written so well, like all your documentation, everything, but it's not a paper compliance. So at the end of the day, the auditor wants to see, how is it working? What exactly are you doing? Like, how have you been practicing this? It's not about, so you can have your policy say, oh, this person will do this, will raise tickets, will do this. Okay, then show me where you've done it, where you've used it, and not just that you have the paper. And that's where I know a lot of people say, oh, having those standards doesn't mean you are secured. And that's where this come in, right? Because you could have all those standards. ISO does not allow you. I feel like ISO is one of those certifications that does not allow you to have it and you go sit down because they are coming again the following year. So that means when you are having ISO, it's actually changing your culture. It's changing what you're doing. You yourself will find yourself telling IT, you must keep your tickets. People have to do this. You must cut somebody off because you know it's beyond you writing it down. You want to show that you're doing it. Poor asset inventory. That's another thing. You need to know all the things you have. You need to know areas where your risk will come from. So those are areas where auditors too would look at. So you kind of have some assets and you're not looking at the risk or nobody's monitoring it. It has to show weak risk scoring. So if you know that your risk is high, you can't be putting it as low. The auditor would pick it up because actually maybe if they see the environment you are or the things are like, this is a high risk. Why didn't you identify it as one and show how you're going to either mitigate it or avoid it, whatever it is that you want to use to treat it? But you need to score your risks very well. And that would happen when you do a good risk assessment and you do a good identification first, and then you analyze and really be honest with yourself and put the risks in the right scoring. And then that determines how you start working on it. Okay. So it's been a lot of talking, but finally my conclusion and key takeaway. ISO 27001 provides a structured framework for managing information security risks. It really does. An effective one protects the CIA, like we've been talking about. Risk management and continuous improvement are central to the ISO standards. Like I can say, those are like the two major things. The certification demonstrates strong security governance and builds stakeholder trust. It does. Like the moment you start doing ISO and you keep doing it, you have a very good governance. You have people that know they have to come for meeting, people that know they have to approve things for you. And at the end of the day, you can show it off to your customers, to people outside. You build trust. Organization benefits from improved resilience and regulatory compliance. And then I have here that ISO 27001 succeeds when security becomes an operational culture. That's just it. Like the year we started at ISO compared to where we had now in my organization, I can see the difference. It becomes a culture. It becomes what now they just know like, we have to raise tickets for this. We have to document this or we have to do this because they know like these are the things we want to show that shows that we're improving. So it really does when it becomes a culture over time. And that's something that you keep doing, and every year you keep getting better at it. And then, yeah, this is my LinkedIn. If anyone wants to reach out to still talk some more, and I know maybe open to questions here. And so, yeah, questions and feedback. And that's all I have.
Wow, thank you so much. That was really packed.
Right. So,
That
thank
was really,
you.
really packed. Very, very educative and very interesting. Thank you so much, Dayo, for coming to share your experience. It has, even personally, I've also learned a lot. I've also learned a lot, and I'm sure the whole community is also grateful for this experience that you've come to share. It's always good to map the industry practice, and see how it is done in the industry. Um, yeah, before there will be time for question, definitely. So just start preparing your question. And the quick question I have is, in your organization, how will you compare, because you spoke about the culture, so how will you compare the culture before you achieved ISO 27001 and after you have achieved ISO 27001? What's the culture like? What major difference did you notice?
Oh my God, it's a big big improvement, I have to say. Like the culture will so change. So I remember when I first came in, like they used to do an annual security training, just one training in the whole year. And I'm like, oh, how? Like, how do you train people just one time in the year when, like, we've been talking about things are changing? There's so much that people need to know. So one of the things that has changed is now we do our trainings quarterly. Now every quarter, people are expecting security trainings to come. And the strategy we used for this was, okay, maybe instead of giving people training just once and they have to do 1 hour, let's split it. And so now we split it into like just 15 minutes per quarter, but it's packed, it's rich, and then they do it 4 times a year. And at least if you forget what we said in January, by the time you're doing it again, it reminds you. And then things keep changing, right? What was probably a risk or what was an issue in 2025 may not be the same thing in 2026. And that's why when you keep evolving those trainings, they keep learning something. That's been one thing. Like I said, the second one is in our access controls. I remember when I first started, we didn't used to have good access reviews. People didn't used to check what they have, who has access to it. And so I remember when I first started all this, you come in and realize that, oh, they still have some credentials of people that have left for months, still tied to things that they've left like for some months. And it's like they can come in because it's not everything that is SSO, right? It's not everything that when you cut off some things, they have access to it. But because nobody's checking that platform, that thing to see. And then when we started doing that, now quarterly we have access reviews, we check. In-house is getting cleaner. That's one area to I see. And there's just so many areas I can talk about. But yes, we are better off, like really, really better off because of this. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, that's the essence because going through the certifications, I'm sure there will be other times that they might even have to interview, some employees, just to gauge their level of awareness. As awareness is another area that is very important as well. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. Yeah, time for question and answer. Let's so you can raise up your hand if you have question. This is the time to ask Dayo question. Whatever you may want to know. Um, or are you giving a bow? I mean, how do they say it in the Senate?
Take a
Many
bow and
thank
go.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. You saying you should think about. Please, let's. Yeah. I mean, you can ask your
I'm
question.
sorry, sir. Good morning. I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Akim.
Um, Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Good
I
morning.
want to firstly disagree with the understanding that this is a practical. This is an hybrid for me. It's both theoretical and practical because she actually went deep, very, very deeper. And the way she was speaking, I was able to like relate some one or two incidents in my office to it. For example, I have a junior staff under me that has an access to, to our phase two. We call it a phase two. That's the name of the place. I don't have an access to it. It's only the manager and the top management. But his own access card can actually go in there. So most of the times, if we need to do one or two things there, we don't necessarily got an approval before we enter there. We just take his own access card. We know the pin and we are in. And and I think what she said actually portrays the fact that that is wrong, and that has cause a serious security breach in an organization. And the fact that the person in charge does not really know what has been going on with that, why that such an employee has on unrestricted access to many places. That's number one. Secondly, I wanted to ask, this is like a rituals. What everything you have been saying is like a rituals, something that needed to be done. And the fact that it wasn't just you have to be thrown into the wall, there is actually a template for you to test run your ability, your level, where you are, before you call in the auditor and what have you. So I wanted to ask, what are the things, what are the examples, what are the theoretical incidents, what are the experiences that can actually be shared with the management to buy into this? What are the things do you at times show them a model, or do you at times sometimes ask to bring in an experience from other companies? You know, at times and many times we have discussed how Uber has been hacked, what has happened to them, and the repercussion and what have you. Because a lot of management, for them, if it is not profiting, it doesn't make sense. And this endeavor does not even bring in any money, but it saves a lot of stress and finance, right? So how do you get them key into it? How do you get them key into it? How do you bring them on board? So that's my question.
Thank you, Akim. That was Akim, right? Did I
Yes,
get the name?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the experience, the story you shared already of the access is already a very good way to start off, right? And that's what happened a lot. Like people get card or badge. So like, let me give you an example. One of the controls in ISO is the physical control, right? Where they check like what you have, like if, especially if you are in a physical office. And this is where, like I talked about the control being customizable. If it's a company that is fully remote, you won't need to worry about the physical controls. That will not be in your own SOA, right? But if you have a physical office, you worry about the physical controls. So the auditor will come, they will check if you have the cameras, they will check if you have a log. So let me give you an example. The fact that people can even come into the company and maybe you guys have heard of tailgating, right? Where you are the one that has the badge and they're following you behind, because you want to be courtesy now, like you don't want to like shut the door on somebody, you open the door for them and then they follow you. But in the first place, they shouldn't be able to even enter into the organization that way. There should be somebody receiving them, knowing when they are coming. There should be logs writing when they came into the building and who they are going to see. And so the auditor, when you have a physical control, is actually going to be checking what time the visitor came in, who they came to see. And so for us, we have like an electronic one that actually records it. There's supposed to be cameras in strategic places where they would actually walk around and go check. Those are some of the things. So when you're talking about areas where you want to convince your management, it boils down to what I first said. Before you even start thinking of ISO, calling the whole external auditor, there has to be something you started doing in-house. You must already have your committee. You must have people that you're already having meetings with. You first start with that. Start having your regular meetings with your IT people and all. Move higher to the IT manager and all. Move higher, get to the executive sponsor first and start doing all that first. Why you are doing all that is because when you then do your internal audit, those are the people that you're going to submit the report to. The internal audit is what will show what is happening. So the internal audit will show if there's no access control. Oh, we don't have any access control. What it means is this person can enter here, this person, or give examples. If you're even lucky to see someone that they showed you their stuff and you see an old employee name there, screenshot those things, like have those documentation to show that, oh, this employee left months ago, but they were still able to enter here. Look at what happened. Oh, this credential, people are sharing it, or this, show the things to those particular steering committee people. That's where the conversation will start. And most of the time, like I said, when you're talking to those people, they want to hear how it's going to be a risk to them. So like if this happens, we might be shut down for a whole day, or if this happens, our customers' data may be taken and it can lead to fines and things. Or even when we're talking of GDPR, if you know that there are areas where some parts of your companies are not protecting people's information, you need to let your management know, oh, if this happens, people can actually sue us, GDPR, this. You just have to paint the picture, let them understand what could happen to them. Like if it's a company that doesn't want to shut down, even for a day, if you know how to calculate the amount, oh, if this happens, we can lose this. Those are the areas you start telling them. It's just pretty hard to convince executives for security thing. Everybody's going through it, to be honest. Every time I go to talks, everybody say the same thing. Like it's so hard to get companies to invest until maybe things happen. But honestly, it's also changing because when you convince them enough, you start having executive champions, they will start approving some budget for some things. And then they see the essence. And then if it's a company that is also like bidding for contracts and things like that, ISO 27001 puts a lot of company at a very good competitive edge, and it also makes the company start changing. I think that's an important thing. Then maybe if you another good thing to show is if you're having security trainings that your employees are not doing, you can always show that, oh, we have trainings, look at our stuff, nobody's doing it. You just keep painting the picture of what is not happening, that when you go for all these things can change because people will have to do it. I don't know if I've said enough, but yeah, I know it can be a struggle, but hopefully.
Yeah, thank you very much. You've said more than enough. I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very good response. Yeah, very, very good response. Do we have any other question? Okay, why you guys are still, and you can also ask your question on the chat if you are not able to speak. Um, why you guys are thinking about the question? Dayo, I know you are a GRC professional, you've really made your mark, in that space. A lot of listeners there, a lot of especially some current cohorts that we have, like a lot.
Neo.
Large amount of them actually wants to go into GRC, you know. And let me also say something that many of you might not know is that Dayo does not have IT background, you know, neither does, but she has an engineering background. She's a civil engineer by training, but she's been able to cross into the field of cybersecurity. And I can tell you, I can assure you, she's really, really killing it, right? So now, what I'm saying is, um, what advice do you have for people that wants to do GRC? Because there is that perception, you know, that GRC is the easiest part of cybersecurity. It is the non-technical part. Me, I don't want to do technical stuff. I don't want to do technical. I just want to do GRC. So, as someone that are crossed into this field that is really killing it in the industry, what advice do you have for aspiring GRC professionals?
Thank you, sir. Yeah. So I know at the very beginning too, I also was hearing that JRC is non-technical, is this, and I agree because I feel like in some areas, the fact that you have the policy, the fact that you can always come in. So I also have a bit of project management, so that kind of helped me with some meetings and projects and all that. And I can see why people think you don't need to have any technical, IT technical thing. But to be honest, I'm very grateful. I started learning outside, a bit of the technical before even transitioning into GRC. This is why it will be important. And I don't know if we have some professionals in the house too that can attest to this. You will be talking a lot with the technical guys, like you will be meeting them a lot, you'll be demanding things a lot from them. People would always respond to you depending on how much they think you know. So the idea is if they realize you don't know anything, they would throw anything at you because they know you're not even okay. So you can imagine you're even wanting to talk to them about vulnerability. And you're just like, oh, I need you people to be staying on top of your vulnerability, but you have no idea at all what tool they are even using for it. Now, there's a difference when you come in and I'm like, okay, I want to know the tool you guys are using. Is it Tenable? Is it this? Is it that? And even the fact that you're mentioning it, they're like, okay, I think she knows about it. And maybe if sometimes you even go like, oh, can you log into it? Let me see what you have. And maybe sometimes they see that you also know your way around it. There's a different kind of reference they give to you. They know they cannot hide something. So it's glaring. You are intenable, you are seeing their patch, they are seeing vulnerability that has been there that are not working on there. You are seeing they can't hide anything, right? Or let's talk about even I'm trying to think of another technical thing that you could want to be having conversation with them, maybe like cloud. Maybe they are using the AWS or they're using Azure, and they see that you're saying some terminologies or you're talking about it. They just listen to you more. They just feel like, okay, she knows a bit about it, and then they have that conversation because it's just normal for people to just be like, I don't think she knows anything. I can just say anything. But so one thing I would say is even though you're not technical, as much as possible, we need to keep learning. You need to keep knowing a bit about the technical side so that you can understand them. Another thing that it helps with, this will be the last thing, is when I'm having this conversation with them, it's also easy for you to understand them. So because I know a bit of the technical side, I understand when they're telling me that, oh, even though we have this vulnerability, right now we can't patch this because we have something going on due to operations, due to this. I can understand with them. I can also I can see their justification and I can take it to my auditor as well because I understand what they are even saying. But if not, you just find yourself going like, oh, I need this, I need this. You're not even understanding what they're trying to explain to you is the process that, oh, right now we can't patch this, we are waiting, or we are doing something else. So you won't be able to have that good alignment with them as much as possible. So that's the area where a bit of the technical thing has been helping me to like have good conversation with the guys in the field. I kind of understand them when they're telling me, oh, please hold on, we can't patch this, or hold on, we have to come back to this. And it just makes it easy when I do understand. And then finally they give me what I want. So yeah, just thought to put that out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very, very important to understand the technical areas and it will even help your conversation with the auditors. You know, when you are submitting, when they ask you some questions about maybe some of the evidences that you are submitting. So if you cannot be going back and front, okay, if they ask you a question, you say, okay, give me 2 minutes. You rush to go and meet maybe the professional in charge. You are able to engage them, and that will ensure a very smooth auditing process.
I
Emmanuel
have a
has
question, sir.
okay, go ahead.
Um, Thank you very much for the insight and the fact that we all have to be on top of our game, to work on the same pedestal. Nobody's up, nobody's down. And, you know, I have a phrase here that I believe she has spoken about it, but I also need to get a clear understanding of this with this phrase. The phrase goes like this: compliance is not about past incidents, it is about future resilience. How important is that phrase?
That was to me, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, that was
yeah.
to you.
Yeah. You said compliance is not about past incidents, but about future resilience.
Yes,
Did I get that? Oh,
yes.
okay. Yeah. I think I can get the logic behind that phrase, because like we've been talking about, the more you're working on getting compliance to maybe some particular standards, let's bring it back to the ISO. Yes, you might be having some incidents that happened before, but what are you learning about it? The more you're learning from those incidents, you're becoming more resilient to it. So an incident would be the fact that maybe someone was able to get access. Okay, maybe let's think of something. I'm going to come down. So we have network segregation. That's one of the controls in ISO. Maybe there was a breach, somebody got breached in the legal or some other department. But because they also had so much access to another department or some other documentations that they didn't even have any need to have been given access to at all. Now whoever breached them had access to that documentation. That would be an incident that happened, right? And then maybe the company learned from it. What have we learned from it? Access should be given to people based on a need to know. Even though I'm the boss or I'm a manager in this department, maybe I don't have anything to do in that platform or in that area. Why is IT giving me access for it? And those are like conversations I have with my guys. Quarterly, you send your access review, I'm looking at it. Maybe somebody got promoted just last week, and now that thing that you gave them access for 10 years ago, they don't need it anymore. IT, take it off. Maybe somebody is going on maternity leave. While on maternity leave, why do they still need their credentials active to my data center? Those are things that we see. Like, why are they still able to have access to things while they're on maternity leave? They are no more working. Take it off temporarily. Those kind of things, because those are areas where incidents may have happened to some companies where people get in and they have, so, okay, what have we learned from it? Now our access is tighter. Now I understand that it's better you call IT to give you the access for that thing than for you to have it and you don't need it. And so what has happened to you over time is you've become more resilient, right? Now it will be very hard for someone to get breached and they will get to areas where they were not supposed to get to. That's what I can get from that phrase, because really you do build resilience. The more you keep doing it, you get better, you get tougher. Things that got you 2 years ago cannot get you anymore because you've learned from it and you keep getting better at it. That I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what I got from that.
Yeah, you answered it perfectly, and I like the
Yes, very well.
example. I like the example you gave. That's a least privilege. Meaning that just give people the enough access that is the least amount of access they need to perform their role. What I see that happens even more often is somebody is a manager is going on leave and is delegating his role for somebody else, maybe so for a subordinate. And because the person is acting as a delegate, maybe they need approval, they need some level of privileges. And when the manager comes back, IT forget to remove those privileges. That happens a lot. I mean, I've seen that happen quite, and it's an area that auditors also look out for when they are doing access review. So yeah,
We have
follow.
some questions in the chat.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know if you can
exactly.
help me read
Yeah,
it.
Emmanuel has a lot of has bunch of questions here. I don't. Did you see it? Say my inquiries primarily concern the financial implications, of course, specifically whether they are determined by the scope of the certification. Secondly, is interested in understanding how other departments achieved compliance and if there were individuals who felt inconvenienced during the process, of course, how such situations were managed. Lastly, I'm certain about the geographical reach of the organization in question. Have there been instances where you lacked a physical presence or access to certain data centers to verify compliance? Do auditors travel to the various regions where your business currently maintain and infrastructure presence? Looks like you need a personal consult from Dayo to answer all these questions.
It's
But
so
I
much
will,
question like
but I will allow her to
we
just
can't
touch
keep up.
just touch on
Oh
some
my
of the
God.
areas you can.
Yeah, but please, whoever it is, let's connect on LinkedIn and we can always talk some more. I'm open to
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
one
I think the one that caught my attention is the fact that if everybody would agree, oh God, not everybody, as
no,
in, if you're not careful, going like you don't, you once they see you coming, like, but you know one thing, and that's one thing I've been able to enjoy so far is genuinely, I really enjoy talking with people first. Secondly, I put it out there that I'm here to work with you all. I give them that notion, and that is the truth. Like I'm not going around my organization going like, oh yeah, show me what have you done? Let me see. Are you doing it? No, I'm really working with them in a collaborative way. Like I'm understanding and I'm showing that I want to support. So even from the very beginning, I remember when I had my interview, that was even one of the questions they asked me. And I'm like, I'm coming here to work with you all. I'm coming here to make sure that we get things done. So if my company gets this, it's also my own pride, right? So it's not like I'm here to come and say you are not doing your work. No, we are doing this together. So give them that attitude where they understand that she's here, like you are there for them. And so when I do meet them, and sometimes, yes, they have an ability, I see it's critical, it should have been patched. I see things or training some of them are not doing, and finance people are like, things that you would want to jump on. But instead of that, I go like, oh, I understand you people are busy or something happening in your department. Oh, okay, I understand. Can you just let me know when you can do it? I give them time. I talk to them. You just keep finding a way around it because it's never convenient. Security is never convenient for people that are non-technical. It's like you're stressing them. Ordinarily, the MFA, you should see them. They're like, why do I even have to find code? Like they don't understand why you want to stress them to do MFA. And then we are talking of we want to put another one again. Like, oh, we should not enter the thing at all. Why are you stressing? So there's some of them have like some special things, and I'm like, we have to have even more. And like, no, I'm not interested. Or you're even telling them to do training, and they're like, why does it have to be quarterly? I want to do only one training. I'm like, no, apart from the quarterly training, those are privileged. I have special training again for them. The moment you say it, they're like, oh God. I'm like, yeah, because you're privileged. You have access to things. You need to know more. They don't want to hear. I'm trying to think of everything, even this badge that we're talking about. Some of them want to enter places easily. They don't want you to disturb them. When I ask for access review, oh God, I'm asking for access review in quarter one, sometimes quarter three. You're still pursuing some, they won't check quarter one because they'll be like, oh, I'm busy. But you know what? I keep going back. I keep asking. I keep going like, you know what? And sometimes when I catch them in a meeting, I'm like, do you need my help with anything? How do I put you through it? You just need to keep working on that. It's a very people kind of work. I have to confess to that. And then I think for the scope, I think he was talking about physical thing for
yeah,
data center. I think that
yeah,
one came to my mind too. So for data center, like for us now, we are using a third party for data center. So if you're using a very good third-party data center, what would be important to you is doing your due diligence, checking what they have. So whatever they are doing would actually satisfy what you'll be giving your auditor, right? Because if your data center is already doing everything, all you need to show to your auditor is your data center is compliant and all. Now, the area where your auditor will worry about is who has the access control. Like I said, I go to check the access review of who has badge to go to our data center, who has the access to it. If I see that somebody that is not supposed to be going there is having it, take it off. Why does he have it? Or somebody is going on any leave for maybe too long. They don't need to still be able to go to data center if they're on leave for a long time. You take it out temporarily and then they come back again to get it. So those are the areas where you can monitor for data center. But every other thing will be more of third party, you showing what you've done that the data center is doing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you are very right. Regarding the data center, I don't know how many people have been into a data center before. I've been into a couple of them. I can assure you of the level of physical security at data center is really, really tight. And they have lots of controls that they have put in place. It's only in data center I've seen them implementing tailgating control. If you don't use your badge to come in, you cannot leave that data center. It is that strong. It is that strong. And you have like there is one that I know within Calgary that I normally go to. You have like 3 levels of access before you actually get to your data center. And there are also rules. You cannot, they allow you to take your phone inside, but you cannot receive calls within data center. No calls, no filming, no nothing, as in extremely tight. And like Dayo said, they have a certain level of certifications. So, and that's what you just need to provide to auditors. And you have your cage. You have your cage that is also locked. And this particular one I'm talking about, you actually use fingerprint to enter. Some you use face plus fingerprint. They're even implementing multi-factor authentication, even with physical controls. So no, it's very, 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 very tight, very extremely tight. Yeah. So Michael, no problem. This video is being recorded. Is if we get I'm sure can share the slide. Then if we get her permission, the video will also be on our YouTube page as well. Any other question? Yeah, Dayo, a lot of people are really appreciating you here. It looks like they really enjoyed the delivery. GRC is all encompassing.
Can
Yeah,
I ask a
GRC is
question?
really okay. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dayo, for the really insightful session. My question is about certifications, like personally now, not the company one. So regarding the ISO 27701 lead auditor course, I noticed that the PECB is quite expensive, and I was just wondering, like, being certified yourself, is there like anything that sets that training apart from like a mastermind, for instance? That's my question.
That's good. So I know the one I did was with the MOS security. I can always, you can reach out to me and I can tell you about that. I don't know. It was a bit expensive too, Sha, but maybe not as crazy as PCB. I really have no idea how much, but this one was not too expensive. But to be honest, certification is good and everything, but if there's a way, maybe if you're already in the field and you're doing all these things, that if you can do it already, to me that makes a whole lot of difference. But it depends if you're trying to pursue roles that are lead auditor, those are the things you're trying to pursue. I know those things can set you apart. So doing them maybe with accredited places would definitely open the door for you. But for someone like me, I just needed to do it to be able to help my organization do theirs. It's not like I'm not actually auditing ISO for any other organization. I'm not doing it as an independent auditor per se. So I just wanted to know the knowledge. So to me, anywhere you can get the knowledge and you can actually do it hands-on would be more important to me than any certification. But if you're trying to get rules to be an auditor, to pursue this field, then I know certifications would open that door for you. So you just decide which one it is, where you are at that point in time would then be what would help you make that decision.
Yeah, Bolanle,
Thank
the lead implementer course, yeah, is that expensive because it's really for the people that will lead for consultants basically, Because even if you put everything in place as an organization, you need an external consultant who is certified by ISO to come and do the certifications requirement, everything, come and do auditing for you. That's why it's very, very expensive. But if you want to be a consultant, you want to be consulting for organizations to do that, yeah, you can pursue that. You definitely get a good ROI, doing it. But if it's just that you just want the knowledge, maybe to benefit your organization, that one you can, the experience will matter for that. And so, yeah, whichever way you want to go. But you can also reach out to Dayo for further info. Ayodeji is asking here, can you share any challenges you had faced in terms of management buying? And I think that is important. And how did you overcome it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. You would always have challenges with management buying because, like we said, they want to know why they are spending money. Like, what would be the benefits
Yeah.
of them spending more money for? And this our own is so difficult sometimes to really make it like A plus A, 1 plus 1 is 2. It's not always that, straightforward. It's not like when they will come and go like, oh, if you invest 5 million, we're going to get to 7 million. It's not always. I guess you guys understand what I'm saying. So mathematical like that. It's more of strategic. It's more of telling people things that might happen, might not happen. And so they're like, okay, how do you put it into money for us to understand it? And so what I've like for me, I feel like I know the time I was asking my company to probably do like I'm trying to think of something, okay, like trainings for our developers, get certifications for our developers and all that. Yeah, it was a bit tough to kind of explain why. So one of the controls is the secure development control, right? Like you want people to develop. Nowadays, we're saying don't just develop your codes and your stuff, and then afterwards start thinking of security. Like while you're coding, input security into it. And so there's the OWASP top 10. There's a lot of things you want developers to know, right? But it also involves you having to spend more money on trainings of those people. And at first, yeah, they were like, oh, what would they be why would they do that? And so over time, I'm like, yes, the money will be the fact that if you have issues with those applications or those applications that they are developing get breached, you're going to lose more money just because people that are doing it didn't know what they were supposed to know. Like, and so there will be a lot of I think somebody said, I saw something in the chat where somebody was saying business case. And that I was like, why didn't I use that word? Most of the time for these things, it's business case. Like I would present it, explain what they would get from it, why it's important, and then it's left to them to now decide, okay, for this year fiscal budget, we're going to put this for security, and then we can spend it on some areas that we see that would benefit us. Because even though nothing has happened now, we're saying if people don't develop these things securely, if they're not done, if they don't know what they should do, something could happen after from it. So are you ready to bear those risks, or should we then train our people? That's an example of one I've had to do. There's so many other cases like that I'm sure that people to my have an issue getting buying. Even meetings, these meetings that we're talking about, as simple as it is, oh my God, getting executives to sit in a meeting, it's not easy. You need to be able to like already have a structure. I remember I struggled with that at first, where to get them to come. I was like, where will I get them? How will I tell them? Then finally, after like we did like the first, because when I came in, like they were not doing meetings regularly. When I then got my structure and everything, I just go into their calendars, put it in, and everybody's structured. Now they know when they should come for the meeting, when not. Before then, I'm sending reminder. Oh, please, you be be reminded we have this meeting. This is what we'll be talking about. We need your presence. We need your input. You keep going, and and then finally they come for the meeting. So even getting management to come for meetings regularly can be a lot of work sometimes, but I was able to get past that too. So that's one thing too that I would say I struggled with at first, and then finally I got that too. So yeah.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Thank
Yeah. Temitope wants to know that which platform do you use or tool to manage security control documentation and to support the ISO 27001 auditing processes.
So there are many tools out there, like a lot of tools out there. There's Vanta, there's Audit Board, there's I think Reg Scale, there's Drata. There's so many tools that are out there now that you can use. And so it still boils down again to the company and the management if they're ready to invest in those tools for you to use. So what those tools help to do is instead of you using the spreadsheets and everything, those tools kind of make life easier. Sometimes they're even like your AI kind of GRC where they kind of help you pick some of these things and they map it and they make it easy for you. And so when you put your evidence in, they are tracking it already for you. And it's easier for the auditor to also go in and start checking those things. So that's one very good thing about those tools nowadays. It makes the inventory of your evidence, the linking of it, it makes it so good and fast. Not like you can't do all these things with your spreadsheet and everything, but you find yourself doing it faster with those tools. But they are also expensive. So that's another area where you need to get the management to even agree to want to invest in before you can even start using it. But if you do have those tools, they are pretty good. See, are there any open source tool? I don't think so. I don't really know if there are any open source tool because something about GRC tool, another thing to take note of is you'll be putting so much information in it, right? You'll be putting a lot about your company in it. Maybe even your like your people, your employees' credentials. There will be so much things there where I don't know, maybe they would ever get to the point of having open source. I feel like it would always be something where you will need to have a bit of a relationship with them where they would sign some things so you're actually safe with it before you start using it because it will really be it will be embedded in everything about your organization. Honestly, it will work like it's so the way some of them work, it integrates with your AD, it integrates with your vulnerability scanner, it integrates with every of your access platform. It just integrates so much that you really want to be sure of what you're using and how safe it is, because that's the way you can then use it to be, tracking things and sending reminders and helping you to show your evidence to the auditor. So that amount of integration is what makes me not to think there's any. I don't know if there is, but I would advise one should get one that you would at least have a contract with before you start using.
Yeah, there are some open source, but like Dayo said, people don't want to use it because of the level of confidentiality that are involved, because that's where you're going to put your risk matrix, and it also connects to different places. So, you might not want to go that route. I know some other popular ones are paid, of course. ServiceNow has a module for GRC, and there is another one we call Acha. I actually started with Acha. Acha is really, really robust. So Acha is another very good tool that is used for that. But the standard does not compel you to use a particular tool. If you like, use a physical filing if it is convenient for you. But like Daibo said, the tools make your life easier, and you are able to document things properly. You are able to coordinate with the auditors. Your evidence can easily be shown, and you can have all those interconnectivity with other areas of your processes. What I like about the tool is, after the audit, after the certifications, the management action plans. How do you plan to remediate whatever they have found out, or whatever you need to do? Scheduling, reminding them, doing queries, so those are the things that the tool will help you to do. Yeah, we are almost at the end. I think yeah, we are rounding off. We have just 8 more minutes left. Any other final thoughts from anybody?
So I dropped some questions on the chat.
You should go and link with. I hope you are following Dayo already because.
Done already, sir. That's our new fellowship.
You,
Yeah, because
I have to connect.
you really engaged very nicely. That's really good. But I can't see your question. You need to be an angel. I can't see your question. Maybe you can quickly ask Akim. Okay, yeah, he's saying. So, is it safe to say that working with an organization that has been exposed and been a victim of risk in the past is better than a company without any risk cases?
I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat the question?
He's saying, is it safe to say that working with an organization that has been exposed and been a victim of risk in the past is better than a company without any risk cases?
I don't think there's any company without any risk cases. And I think that's what we've said. There's no company that will not have risk. There's no zero risk anywhere. And
But sorry,
so they're only companies that have not
risk is
identified risk.
relative. It's relative.
Okay,
They hit more
yes,
than
and
other than the other.
yes, that's where the classification of the risk come in, right? Is it critical? Is it high? But what I was about to say before too was that the fact that there are only companies that have not identified their risk. So I know there are a lot of companies like that because they've not started this process. Because the moment you start this process, you will start identifying your risk. You will start knowing that you have risk that you were not seeing before that is there. And now, so what these things does is it makes you look inward and then identify those risks and then be like, okay, now I know this is my risk. Now I want to start working in it on it. It's almost like every human being saying, I don't have any weakness, I don't have any area. We all know we have areas, right? But then the self what was that word? Is this self realization, or the fact that you now know that this is the area I'm struggling with, and then you know, and then you want to start working on it. It's different from you living in ignorance. Or I know they say there's bliss in ignorance, but you know some ignorance are not good. You want to keep self-awareness. I like somebody put it there. Iman, thank you for saving me. Self-awareness, yeah. So that's how the company too is. Like you need to know what your risks are. So it's not like it's safe. I think it's even better to be in a company that knows their risk and has been having risk that and there's something they used to talk about, that there are two types of companies. There's the company that has been breached, that knows, and the one that has not been breached, that has been breached but doesn't know. Every company would have something that people have tried, but you either know it because they've asked you for money for it, or you don't know it because nobody is disturbing you about it. So yeah, like it's better to work anywhere. Like just help them identify it, keep talking about it, keep mitigating it. Sometimes it's all even just identifying it. Like let everybody know. And it may look like you're not moving, but at least now we know. Now we've documented it. Now we've said what we want to do. We'll keep coming back. We'll keep disturbing management till they'll give us money for it. Till we'll keep fixing it. And it just keeps happening over time. That's what I would say. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for this webinar. Yeah, you have really done justice to the question, and we really appreciate your coming, Dayo. I mean, this has been really helpful. This has been really impressive. And thank you so much for coming back to your to the community to come and share your knowledge. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone. I really
yeah.
appreciate it.
So, guys, that is it. That we have come to the end of this quarterly webinar. In June, we'll be having another one. Like I said, this is going to be an ongoing quarterly webinar where we invite professionals, especially people with the roots that has to do with TCP Cyber. So we'll bring them in to come and share with us their experiences, just like we have had today. It's been a pleasure having this seminar. Personally, I've also learned a lot, going through this. I like the knowledge. I like the practicality of it. You can see the difference. You can always see the difference between talking theory and doing the practical, having that hands-on experience from the field. The difference is always clear. So we are grateful to have Dayo, and we are very proud of her. We are very proud of her achievement. Like I said, I think I've already put her LinkedIn on the um, on the chat. Let me put it again so that you can go and connect with her. And like I said earlier, Dayo is very, very active on LinkedIn. So if you want to stay in touch with what is happening, the events that are happening especially within Canada or maybe around the world, you want to stay in touch with what is happening in the field of cybersecurity. Our LinkedIn is a very good resource. I personally follow her as well. So I even enabled alert button. So anytime she posts something, I get to see it immediately, and we
Oh,
do interact. So
thank you, sir.
yeah,
I
you
have a
are.
question. Can I share the slides on the chat too with them? Because I know they are asking.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can share within the TCP Cyber WhatsApp, but I will find a way to also share it with other people that are not a member of the community as well, so that because we have some members here. This is a public webinar. Yeah. Thank you for agreeing. Just send it to me, and you can also share within this thing. I will find a way to share it across. And if you also give us the permission, we would like to. This is a good resource that we would like to have on our YouTube channel as well, TCP Cyber. So I know I will discuss that one personally with you. Otherwise, we are at the top of the hour. 2 hours on dot. Thank you so much, everyone. And for some people that if you want to join our community, I'm currently sharing the link. That's school.com/TCPCyber. So you want to learn cybersecurity, you want to have some practical real implementation, you want somebody to hold your hands, go to that link, go and subscribe. We also do meet every Friday, for gist, basically, live session with me. So yeah, that's our link there. Otherwise, thank you everyone for coming along, for sharing your 2 hours of your weekend with us. We hope it's been very impactful, and you've learned a lot. So we'll see again. The next webinar will be in June, and we'll communicate to everyone ahead of the time. Thank you, and bye-bye. See you then. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Mm.